Russia is facing a massive fuel crisis. Petrol and diesel are literally disappearing from filling stations. Russian media reports on queues at filling stations, panicked drivers, and obscene comments on social networks. The situation is especially dire in Primorsky and Khabarovsk Krais. Kilometer-long traffic jams form at filling stations, drivers carry canisters with them, and even tourists get stuck on the federal highways. The situation is getting worse everywhere, from occupied Crimea and ORDLO to Vladivostok. The head of the Russian occupation administration in Crimea, Aksyonov, has already stated that this will last at least a month. People are in shock. Where is the petrol? Local residents write. According to them, the fuel at alternative gas stations has run out, and at large ones, they are saving it for emergencies. The situation is aggravated by the monopoly and disruption of supplies. Against the backdrop of massive Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian refineries, some of the plants have been shut down or partially destroyed. Even in occupied Crimea, they have admitted that they are not coping. The deficit is caused by a reduction in production and failures in logistics, since gasoline is delivered there mainly by road. In Zabaikalsky Krai, fuel sales by coupons have already been introduced. Meanwhile, a new record has been set on the exchange. The cost of AI-95 has broken the market of 81,337 rubles per ton. A sharp shortage of gasoline and rising prices are hitting the entire economy. Logistics are becoming more expensive, freight volumes are falling, and inflation is growing. Russia is facing a fuel crisis that could result in regions coming to a complete standstill. Earlier, media reported that gasoline prices in Russia are breaking historical records. The market is shaking after UAV attacks. According to the St. Petersburg Commodity and Raw Materials Exchange, on Monday, a ton of AI-92 gasoline cost 71.5 thousand rubles and AI-95 80.43 thousand. Over the past day, the cost has grown by 1.33% and 2.2% respectively, and since the beginning of the year, the growth has amounted to 38% and 49%. To try to contain the rise in prices, the Russian government announced a complete ban on gasoline exports until the end of August, later extending it until the end of September. However, experts estimate that export volumes are too small to affect the market. Russia is again at risk of facing a fuel shortage. Since the beginning of August, 3 refineries have been shut down in the country. Rosneft's Novokubishevsk and Saratov refineries, as well as Lukoil's Volgograd refinery, the largest in southern Russia and one of the country's top 10. The combined capacity of these enterprises is 29.8 million tons per year, which is about 11% of the total refining volume. Last year, according to Reuters calculations, Russia processed 267 million tons of oil. In addition, Rosneft's largest asset, the Ryazan oil refinery, which supplied Moscow and the region, among other places, lost half of its capacity. The Syzran, Slavyansk and Afipsky refineries also came under attack. Oil and gas market analyst Mikhail Krutikin explained that the rise in prices is explained not only by the shutdown of enterprises due to UAVs. We have very tricky prices for gasoline in the Russian Federation. 75% of the price is taxes. This is not the cost of oil, which is only about 7%, not refining and not transportation. These are taxes. They are raised twice a year, so prices will continue to rise. Apparently, the export ban has somewhat curbed the growth of prices, but not dramatically. The main factor in the growth is the greed of the Russian government, the expert said.
Bringing prominent White House support to the streets of Washington, Vice President J.D. Vance and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth on Wednesday visited with National Guard troops at the city's main train station as protesters chanted, "Free D.C." The latest tense interlude from President Donald Trump's crackdown in the nation's capital. "You can bring law and order to communities," the vice president asserted. "We appreciate everything you're doing," Vance said as he presented burgers to the troops. Protesters' shouts echoed through the station as the senior official spoke to the National Guard present. According to Associated Press, the appearance, which also included White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, was a striking scene that illustrated the Republican administration's intense focus on the situation in Washington and its willingness to promote an initiative that has polarized the Democratic-led city.
So I want to come here, highlight what they're doing, say thank you in person, obviously pass out a few burgers, but most of all, just send a message to the American people. Look, we don't have to live like this. We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and by disorder and by chaos. You can actually do stuff. You can actually bring law and order to communities. You've just got to have the political willpower to do it. But I'll tell you, a couple of years ago when I brought my kids here, they were being screamed at by violent vagrants, and it was scaring the hell out of my kids. And one of the things that we've done already in Union Station in just 9 days is we've made it a place where people can walk around safely. They can bring their kids again. They can see this beautiful monument, the architecture. They can have a meal with their friends and their loved ones because, again, we brought some law and order back to Washington, D.C. Hey guys, at ease. Good to see you all. Come here. So, we decided to bring the Secretary of Defense and Stephen Miller to bring you guys some burgers. So we appreciate everything that you're doing. So, you guys bust your ass all day, we give you a hamburger. Not a fair trade, but we're grateful for everything you guys do.
And when I talk to all of them, Stephen, we've all had a chance to talk to them, they're proud of this mission. They're proud to be a part of making sure law and order is established here in the capital. We're resourcing them with everything they need, working with our law enforcement partners. So the National Guard, the Defense Department is proud to be standing with you and the President in ensuring we have a safe capital that is beautiful, that residents can come visit. We're committed to this mission, just like the one at the southern border and in Los Angeles.
And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city, they have no families they are raising in this city, they have no one that they are sending to school in this city, they have no jobs in this city, they have no connections to this community at all. But they're the ones who've been advocating for the 1%, the criminals, the killers, the rapists, the drug dealers. And I'm glad they're here today. Because me, Pete, and the Vice President are all going to leave here, and inspired by them, we're going to add thousands more resources to this city to get the criminals and the gang members out of here. We're going to dismantle those networks, and we're going to prove that a city can serve for the law-abiding citizens who live there. We are not going to let the communists destroy a great American city, let alone the nation's capital.
But if the President of the United States thinks that he has to extend this order to ensure that people have access to public safety, then that's exactly what he'll do. If he thinks he doesn't have to do that, obviously he'll make that determination. But what we're going to do is try to empower these guys to do as good of a job as possible to bring public safety and order back to Washington, D.C. Where are you from? Oh, great. Okay, awesome. We'll make sure you get a copy.
Yeah, we'll get a copy. Okay. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Got it.
All right, awesome. Yeah, thank you guys.
Crime statistics manipulated by the DC police?
Well, I think that crime statistics all over our country were massively underreported because a lot of people would pick up the phone, they'd call somebody, they'd try to get help, and nobody would show up. Oh, I already said hello to you. Hey, guys, thank you. I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to be to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C. I don't know what poll you're talking about. Maybe the same polls that said Kamala Harris would win the popular vote by 10 points.
Where are you from? South Carolina. Okay, so pretty much everybody's in South Carolina. Okay, Charleston. Good to meet you. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.